Don't we need to add an oh yeah? Don't we? Okay. Today's daily word was spot on about prosperity. So I want to share a little bit about my journey. What brought me to unity, what kept me in unity were the prosperity teachings. I was living in Hawaii, and a friend of mine said, "Do you know, there's a new church starting up, and I think you might like it," because I was going to a Congregationalist church, and I went there because the choir sang in Hawaiian language a cappella. So I went for the music, unlike any of you. Right? So I went, and the first lesson the minister gave was a lesson on the difference between Jesus the man and the Christ, what the Christ was. Well, I'd never heard an explanation like that because I, like so many people growing up, Jesus Christ was his last name, right? No, but there is a difference. The second Sunday, let me just pause here. Jesus was a man. The Christ is the spirit within us that we all have. We all have that. And the whole purpose of a spiritual path is to bring that into full expression as Jesus modeled for us. Okay. Second lesson was thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. And this is called the law of mind action in unity. The law of mind action. I remember having the light bulb go off in my head. Do you mean I can control my reality with my thoughts? I mean, that blew my mind because I'd always pictured myself kind of like batter up. Life comes at you fast. You can swing and miss, or you can hit the ball and get to run to a base, or you can knock it out of the ballpark. But you have no control over that ball, is what I thought. So that was my purpose. Outer life comes at me, and I just do the best I can. So when I learned the law of mind action, that changed my life. But I've got to tell you, it took me years of practicing and living that principle until I fully understood it. And I'm telling you, you never actually stop playing, right? So there's still more to learn about thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Now, growing up as a kid, my family never had money. I mean, I got a quarter, a dime, and a nickel for lunch money. And that was always there. I will say that. However, sometimes our electricity would be cut off. Sometimes our gas would be cut off and we'd have no heat. All kinds of things. And it wasn't until years later that my mother told me that my dad gambled the money away. He would gamble some. One time he won $10,000. But he was old and I was gone and, But he did. He liked to play the slot machines. So, prosperity was always an issue for me. I never knew how to manage money, and being a good little Christian girl growing up, I wasn't interested in that filthy lucre. You know what I mean? I was more chaste and pleasant in the eyes of God if I didn't concern myself with money. You do grow the longer you live if you're open to learning, right? So I had prosperity issues. How we wound up in Hawaii is a blessing. I mean, everything's a blessing, but really. So I started tithing. And of course, my expectation was I'm going to give $10 and I'm looking for $100 to come back to me. It's supposed to come back to you. What I learned about the gift of consistent giving is you get over your fear of not having enough. Of not having enough. You just get over it. The first prosperity teachings in unity that I recall were denials and affirmations type of prayer. And we were taught to affirm, I live in a world of lavish abundance. Okay, I always had an issue with that. I just did. I didn't like the word lavish. You know, that did not make me feel good. It did actually the opposite. So my affirmation was, I always have enough. I have enough to do what is mine to do. I have enough. And then I looked at all the conditioning that I had as a child. You know all the teachings about money? Like it doesn't grow on trees. Well, it can. Certainly, you know. Become a lemon farmer, you know. Of course it grows on trees. What are some more? I've got a whole list of them here of stuff, you know. You have to earn it. You have to earn it by the sweat of your brow, you know, by the sweat of your brow. What are some more? What are some of the ones I wrote down? Yeah, waste not, want not. The one with the most toys wins. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Of course you can. You can always have another cake, right? And this is my all-time favorite. You can't take it with you when you go. Or can you? You don't need the stuff when you go. But what you do take with you when you go is the quality of your consciousness. That is soul growth, and you take that with you when you go. So how many of you have watched the Olympics? Yeah, it's on constantly at my house. It's been interesting, and I'm glad it's the last day, you know. I've been fascinated by the gymnasts. How can you do that with your body with such precision? Defy gravity. I mean, I've been really, 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 really impressed with the gymnasts. Phil likes the swimming people because he used to be a competitive swimmer, so he didn't want to miss any of that. So anyway, so I decided, what if I were in the Prosperity Olympics? What about that? You know, when I cross that finish line, am I going to have a medal? Well, I kind of had fun with this. I started thinking, well, there's the lead medal, you know. The lead medal is dense, it's heavy, it's toxic, and I could win the lead medal for a consciousness that has no faith, that lives in scarcity and fear, right? That was narcissistically focused on me and mine and get. I would win the lead medal, okay? Then there's the bronze level. The bronze medal could be given to me for, okay, I'll share some with you, but it's on certain conditions. I'll like you, but I won't really love you, you know. I'll be better than the lead medalist. I'll be the bronze medalist. And let's move on up into the silver medalist. I could win a silver medal if I started to love you, share some things with you, be there for you if you needed me. I could win a silver medal for my consciousness. Let's move on up. How about the gold medal? Woohoo! I could win a gold medal if I loved you and didn't judge you and gave you permission to be yourself and to grow at your own pace through your own experiences, right? That's pretty special to have someone be that for you in your life. and then I added a medal, the platinum medal, okay? The platinum medal is unconditional love and absolute surrender to God. I am only here for God. So I release and I let go, right? And I let the Spirit run my life. If I get to that point in my consciousness, life is peaceful, joyful, magical, absolutely magical, because I know God can do for me what I cannot do for myself. Resist not. That's unconditional love and surrender. So these are my prosperity lessons I have learned through the years. Prosperity, as I said, is one of my favorite topics. When you're young, it's all about getting, building. You know, you buy your house, you get your car. And then when you get older, it's more like releasing, getting rid of this stuff. And that's a spiritual lesson also. Just this past week, I had 4 real heavy mesquite chairs that I bought when I first moved here. They were pricey, let me tell you, inlaid with turquoise, and they were so heavy that if anybody sat on one and you tried to scoot them up to the table, it was almost impossible. I'm very grateful I sold these. And in its place, I now have chairs from Mexico that are carved and painted, each one a different color and a different scene. So totally redoing the dining room. This rug that I was so proud of, that I hauled all the way from Kansas City, that I paid good money for. It's going to wind up at White Elephant, you know, unless somebody here wants it. So I'm getting a new rug. And it's like a new vibration. Change the art around. That's fun. That's a prosperity. To change up your life. One thing I know for certain is when you change your furniture around, you start noticing stuff you've had that you've become so accustomed to seeing, you forgot you got it. Unlike my mother, who was extremely creative, she changed the furniture every week. And if you walked in the house with the lights turned off, be careful. You could bump into something, you know. She was constantly changing stuff around. That was her prosperity. That was her joy. So prosperity happens every moment of the day. It's not just about the physical stuff. We know this. It's about coming here and seeing our friends and laughing and talking and sharing. It's about whatever you want it to be about. And so the bottom line is gratitude. What we appreciate appreciates. Now, let's go back to thoughts held in mind. It's really important that we look at our habitual thinking. You know, all of those conditioned thoughts. And one of mine that was a big breakthrough was, don't get above your raising. Okay? Well, my family was at this level. Poor decisions. So I'm not to get above that, right? That's unconsciously what I was living until I found out I have the power to choose the quality of my own consciousness. And the quality of my consciousness is my prosperity. It is the source of my prosperity. Since those early years, one day at a time, I have lived, and I have been so blessed to have amazing experiences. Being a millionaire is not one of them. However, I have lived such a prosperous life. I have traveled the world over. I have met famous people. I have just been blessed by saying yes to life and yes to what I've called to be. And that is true prosperity. And so I shower you with my blessings of prosperity for your life, for your joy, for your health, and most of all, your awareness of your Christ self.